Good day, my plant foldies. This is Richie at Grow Folds, and today we'll be big box store plant shopping at the Lowe's off of Highway 121 in McKinney, Texas. As always, please make sure you are hitting the like button for this video. It definitely helps push this video out to more plant lovers like yourself, as well as following me on Instagram at Grow Folds. That is the fastest way to get in touch with me directly. If you have any questions or comments about some of the plant shopping videos I make, it is a beautiful morning at this Lowe's, and I will definitely check out what plants they have available here if we have any restocks. Super excited because in 2 days we will be having a premiere for our Cultivation Corner Plant podcast that I've been working on with Janae Simone and Steven at I Live Plants. So I hope you guys will tune in Monday at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. I will give you guys a little snippet and a little trailer right over here and let me know what you think. You catch yourself like looking at social media, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, about what trending plants are there. So like say there's like a new plant release, all of a sudden you already have all of these plants.
Exactly.
But then you want to go ahead and add that variegated Monstera or just some new release.
I'm much better with it now.
He has allocations. He's got an allocation.
He has the magic touch then.
Either the magic touch or
he has
something. He has a poly, an allocation poly. No spider mites. He doesn't really water it, and it's in like a overlooked plants. They also have another common trait. They're cost effective.
Yeah.
The price is right for the majority of us, unless you're one of those folks that can, drop $1,000 on a variegated whatever
Wish
Wish I
plant.
could do that. A lot of the plants that we think are specialty plants here are technically not.
Really excited to finally present Cultivation Corner. We will be calling our viewers the cultivators. So hopefully we can create a really fun community, a plant podcast for everybody. There aren't many plant podcasts out there. And actually, if there are, please leave in the comments so we can go ahead and listen in. But please make sure you are subscribed to all of our channels, Janae Simone's, as well as Steven of I Live Plants. The first 3 episodes will premiere on each of our channels. So the first episode will be on mine, which will be Monday, December 9th, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Then Janae's the following week, and then Steven. So definitely check it out. And then if you haven't already and you want to support me and my side project, please make sure you find the Cultivation Corner YouTube channel. That is where all of the other episodes will actually upload and premiere moving forward for season 1. But as you can see right over here, we do have a lot of these holiday plants. So we've looked at some poinsettias. You can see that the lighting is just amazing. Whenever I go plant shopping in the morning, early in the morning, you'll see that these are Costa Farms plants. These are definitely set for the season. You can see that we have some Norfolk pine right over here. Let's take a look at the price. This is for $6.98. It already has some decorations here. And Costa Farms has really produced just quite a bit of plants. And whenever you think of big box store plants, Costa Farms is pretty synonymous to that term because they just have so many plants readily available to purchase at a big box store. And for those that have been following my YouTube channel, my plant shopping video episodes, you already know that I've always been a fan of Costa Farms just because they made it readily available for a lot of us to get some of these plants that may cost a little bit more. In the past, they've mass produced these plants like you can see here. Aglaonema Red Siam. Now this one is for $15.98, and I have been heavily focused on promoting the Aglaonema plant. I think that this is a plant that a lot of people will overlook. A lot of people will not really consider in their houseplant collection. And it's definitely not a plant that a lot of people are running to find as far as like rare varieties. Most people will spend money over $100 on a variegated Philodendron, a variegated Monstera. But when it comes to an uncommon or rare Aglaonema, I will tell you to do some online search for Aglaonema Crown of Siam, Aglaonema Siam 3 colors, and you will see that these Aglaonema, for instance, are ranging between $600 to $1,000, but there's not a lot of people who actually collect Aglaonemas to really drive those prices, or more so just people talking about Aglaonema. So I'm definitely going to touch base on that just because this particular Lowe's I already know has a lot of Aglaonemas. And so that's something that I will continue to talk to all of our plant foldies. You can see that we do have a bunch of these Norfolk pines. And just to give you an update on me personally, it has just been super hectic the last week. So if you haven't seen as many new big box or plant shopping videos, I do apologize. Like I said, again, the holiday season is super busy for me with just my career and just balancing things for myself. I have realized that as much as I love to make big box or plant shopping videos, it does take quite a bit of time to produce that. And right now, the little free time I have, I do want to focus on just getting some rest for myself. I also want to focus on being a little bit more mindful with the people that are around me. I've really, pretty much inundated myself with quite a bit of, social media posts with my YouTube channel, and then obviously just the premiere of the Cultivation Corner podcast. So I do apologize for all of my plant foldies that look forward to having a live premiere chat. You already know that you guys are always going to support me. I know this. And so if I skip a day or two, know that I'm working on some new plant content. I will be able to reel it back in and actually have a little bit more consistency once the holidays is over. But I am happy that I'm able to at least premiere this video for a Saturday plant party. So if you are in the live premiere chats, please make sure to say hello. And if you made it this far into the video, please make sure you are hitting that like button. That is a huge help for me. If you want to see me continue to grow this channel, hitting the like button for any of my YouTube plant videos or just videos in general definitely helps push this content out. You can see that there are some remaining Black Friday sales. You can see right over here, we have these variegated poinsettias. And I'll tell you, I actually ended up buying one of these variegated poinsettias because I do intend to try to grow this plant long term as a house plant. I ended up picking up another variegated poinsettia at HEB, which is another grocery store that's only available in Texas. And we'll see if I have any luck with that. Now, as far as the influx of Costa Farms plants, you can see that we do have a Syngoniums Trubii Moonlight. This is another Costa Farms trending tropical plant for $19.98. This is in a self-watering planter. And I actually had a viewer ask a plant foldie. And for those that are new to the channel, I call my viewers and subscribers plant foldies. Welcome. My name is Richie. I hope you continue to tune into my videos. But as far as the question from one of my viewers, they asked if I had a lot of self-watering planters. I actually only have self-watering planters for my plants that are in semi-hydroponic substrates such as Lechuza Pond, which is my favorite. I wish Amazon wasn't out of stock on that. And then also Leca. I use those self-watering planters because it has a little wick that actually brings the water up into the reservoir. But as far as self-watering planters for my soil substrates, I don't really like using that because for some reason it just doesn't work as well as compared to like a semi-hydro substrate like Lechuza Pond or Leca. I am actually converting a lot of my newer plants to semi-hydro, and some people have their debates on whether soil is the best substrate. For me, knowing that I am one of those people that actually underwaters my plants, as in I'm just really too busy to water my plants consistently, having them in self-watering planters with semi-hydro reservoirs with water and plant nutrients makes it a lot easier for me to maintain. What I do is I actually just fill the reservoir up, and then it basically takes care of itself. And then when the reservoir is almost done, I'll just fill it back up. But it allows me to consistently get water and nutrients to the plant without having to really soak the plants up. So that's just a little bit of some of my tips. But can we talk about how gorgeous, mornings are? And, for me, I woke up this morning, it's Saturday morning and it's December 7th. And I'm just really thankful to just be alive, to be able to share my plant insights and thoughts. And I know that I've been really just talking to y'all directly whenever I make my plant shopping videos. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we've grown a plant community here. I've been able to give you some plant care tips, easy care plants, but also I've just been able to just let you guys in a little bit on my personal side. I know that I'm faceless on YouTube, and I always get that question on whether I'm going to do a face reveal or not. For me, I think when and if the time is right, that is when you will see me on YouTube. I really want to just focus on the plants, walking around and showing you the plants. Now, I am making more content where I'm doing a little bit more of my personal plant collection. I know I've talked about doing a houseplant tour. Honestly, and you already know that I pretty much have procrastinated because I want to be able to present a really good houseplant tour once the time is right. Now this is super interesting. So this is a variegated string of hearts for $12.98. And what I love about variegated string of hearts is it is one of those plants that likes to be stressed, as in you want to give it more periods of drought, you want to give it a little bit more light, and it's going to give you better variegation. And it's still a very vigorous grower when you compare it to a lot of succulents. So like I said before, I'm not really an expert when it comes to succulents, but what I do know is if you grow succulents, you definitely want to put them in more fast draining soil substrates. You want to just water them when the soil is completely dry, and you want to go ahead and make sure that they are provided with quite a bit of light, whether it is bright light or full sun. So not all succulents want to be in full sun, or some succulents have to acclimate into full sun. So that's really some of my basic care tips for succulents. Now, this succulent, for instance, I just really love the look of Echeverias. They just have that rosette shape about it. And then look at this one right here. I just like showing you the different types of textures that succulents have. And I have added quite a bit of succulents to my plant collection, and I'm really excited to learn more about them, number one. And then number two, figure out what works best for my plant environment, knowing that succulents require quite a bit of light. If I'm going to grow them indoors, they definitely need to either be at a south-facing window where they get really intense light, west-facing window, or better yet, just growing them under a grow light. You know, it has gotten a lot cooler in the North Dallas area, and you know, that's where I'm based at. It's actually been raining today. We've gotten weather that's been around the 34-degree mark, and I feel sorry for some of my plants that I've left outside. I just don't necessarily have the space to overwinter a lot of these plants, and that's the plight of actually being somebody that has a plant addiction, like somebody that wants to continue to like grow plants, collect plants, hoard plants. Whenever I look at my personal plant collection, it becomes a little bit more, how do I say it, a little bit more overwhelming because of the amount of plants I've added to my collection. I mean, the fact that I just recently got another 6 Aglaonema from Green Spaces ID. It was a very successful plant import. Look for a video where I show you the unboxing process, the acclimation process, and the substrate potting up process. That is going to happen soon. So for those that have never imported plants from overseas, I like to promote that sort of type of plant collecting, because you'll be able to get plants that we won't necessarily find at big box stores. And I know that this channel really revolves around big box store plant shopping, because obviously big box stores are going to be the most readily available for everybody versus going to like local nurseries or even yet like importing plants. That is a whole process. And as far as just even the plants that I'm picking up today, you can see big box stores really do provide you with a really good selection of plants, whether it's indoor tropical plants, easy care plants, sometimes rare and variegated plants, or even all of these beautiful succulents and cactus. And you can see that there are many different arrangements. That one is for $12.98. So you have a bowl with a succulent arrangement, and then you can see this one was out in the cold too long. Those are those aloe veras. You can see this is another aloe vera right here. I just find aloe vera interesting as well. I do have one aloe vera, and it's a variegated one that I ended up finding at Home Depot. And I get this question asked a lot on which big box store I prefer to go plant shopping at. I like to go to all three, but if I really had to choose which big box store has been the most consistent in terms of plants, it has to be Lowe's. And that's the reason why you'll see a lot of my big box store plant shopping videos at Lowe's. I just feel like Lowe's carries a lot of Costa Farms plants. They have a lot of indoor and outdoor garden plants, and there's just a pretty staples amount of selection of plants year round. You know, sometimes Walmart will actually liquidate a lot of their plants to make room room for their seasonal set. You can see that even Walmart was actually having, Christmas trees as early as October. And then Home Depot, it really depends on your Home Depot. I know that Home Depot is the prime area to find proven winners plants. I love proven winners plants. You've been super excited that Proven Winners Leaf Joy series has really produced a lot of these houseplants, and I hope to see Proven Winners continue to grow their selection. I did a whole series of searching for the Dock Block Anthurium Michelle by Proven Winners by going to several Home Depots. Luckily for me, I was able to find me a Dock Block Anthurium. I'm actually going to convert my Dock Block Anthurium Michelle by Proven Winners into a semi-hydro substrate called Lechuza Pond. I still have about 75% full of a bag of Lechuza Pond. So that's definitely going to be a priority, just because I feel like anthuriums do best in semi-hydro. Like I said, again, I am open for discussion in the comments section if you agree with me or not. And honestly, as I just keep showing you like these gorgeous succulents, I would love to hear your thoughts and comments. Let me know what you guys have been up to. I know that I've missed being on the live premiere chats. I haven't been able to spend nearly as much time, but Monday, December 9th, please join the live premiere chat at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. I will definitely be on that live premiere chat alongside with Janae, Simone, and Steven, so we can launch our first plant podcast on YouTube. I don't know if there's any other plant podcast shows on YouTube. It is something that we've been working on very diligently. It's been about a good 2-month process. We have all of season 1 created. We intend to have a longer season 2, but we definitely are asking for your support. So definitely, share the links to the video for episode 1. Make sure your notification bell is on. You can also go ahead and hit the like button for the episode 1 for Cultivation Corner. It's already uploaded in my scheduled videos, as well as leaving comments just to get that engagement going. But as far as me, I pick up this variegated string of hearts, and it is one of those plants that I'm tempted to purchase, but I don't really need it. This one is for $12.98. I already have one that's been growing very well for me. And then I have there's a smaller variety, I think for $7.98. Variegated string of hearts, I would say, is one of those plants that kind of fallen off of trend. I just remember about 3 to 4 years ago, and it's really a lot of to do with the pandemic. Variegated string of hearts was quite expensive. It was one of those plants alongside with, say, the Ficus lyrata, where everybody had to get that for the visual interior design. And that's something that's super popular when it comes to growing plants indoors, is the interior design aspect. I do believe that when you style your plants, when you display them in a way that is tasteful, it's very stylish, you're able to really pull the beauty out of a plant versus hoarding a bunch of plants. And for me, I have that problem where I just want to collect everything. I want to obsess about the plants. And, it does sometimes take away from the time of being mindful and just enjoying the plant. When you have over 100 house plants and you're having to water them, pest control, trim them, do all of the plant chores that of course you need to do if you're going to have a plant collection. It can be a little bit overwhelming. And so I think it's another topic that I'm actually learning from my friend Janae, is just how do you display your plants? How do you organize them, and how do you find a way to where you can maximize a small space? I wouldn't necessarily say my house is small. It's a modest house, and I'm really proud of the fact that, I am a homeowner. It's one of those things where, owning a home kind of gives you a little bit more advantage in being able to have more space for your plants. I know that I've talked to a couple of my friends who have house plants and are trying to cram more than 100 plus plants in an apartment, and that becomes challenging. But, ways to actually maximize your plants is maybe having floating shelves, getting cabinets, that sort of thing. And, that's something I'm thankful for in terms of just my friendship with Janae Simone. Again, if you haven't already, she is an amazing plant YouTuber. I do think that she doesn't necessarily always get the credit for her wonderful content. So I urge all of our plant folies to make sure to check her out and make sure that we support her, because she is a fellow cultivator. As far as the plant podcast. I would say that my plant shopping videos are pretty much a podcast because I'm not necessarily always talking about the plants I'm picking up. It's literally just me talking to y'all for about an hour. So I'm just really excited that the Cultivation Corner plant podcast is going to be there. I love the fact that we are all Dallas based, and so we're really trying to represent the DFW area. I will also say that the DFW area plant community is huge. There's a lot of plant lovers here, and we hope that we can create something that's local for the DFW community, which would be super proud. My goals heading into 2025 is to continue to be consistent with my plant content, to really diversify the plant content, to really show more of my personal plant collection, and to just really be mindful about the time I have. I've spent a lot of time thinking on the very little free time I have, and I think sometimes overwhelming ourselves with all of these tasks, it becomes more of a pressure cooker versus finding something that's going to make us happy. And I say this because I remember seeing one of my favorite plant YouTubers, David Morales, where he disappeared for a couple of months. Like, he didn't post any YouTube videos, and it really made me sad. But then at the end of the day, I knew he was okay because he did post, but then he also mentioned that, life got in the way. And it's exciting though to see that he finally did upload a video. So I'm glad that he's still growing plants. He did mention that he had lost a lot of plants. And for me, just to be fully transparent, I got to the point where I was getting a little bit overwhelmed with making a lot of plant content. I do still want to be as consistent and trying to post daily plant shopping videos. But when you think about the length of my plant shopping videos, they are an hour. I like having that long format content. I think in this day and age where we have our kids and just people in general, where our attention spans are a little bit shorter because of TikTok, because of Reels, because of YouTube Shorts, where literally it's a 5 to 10 second plant content versus an hour where we can really just have that open dialogue and open conversation. I grew up, I was born in the 80s, and the fact that I was able to see how things have really evolved when it comes to social media, how, our interests, our attention spans have really changed. That is the reason why I do a lot of my videos to be a little bit longer, at least an hour, because I do think that longer format actually keeps us more focused versus just having very short snippets. I think that sometimes that's overstimulation. I think we're getting jumbled in with a lot of other things going on. I mean, I've seen even my nephews and nieces where they're literally aimlessly scrolling through 5 to 10 second shorts from like TikTok. And that's the reason why I don't even have a TikTok. I've always been an advocate for YouTube, because that's the one thing I've known. I've known YouTube when it first started and it first debuted, and I just remember even like using YouTube through a dial-up connection. So that's when that that is a platform that I've used. But anyways, I do apologize if I am just talking your ear off aside from the plants, but as you can see, let's go back to the plants. We do have a bunch of the cyclamens, for instance, and look at how vibrant that red is on cyclamen. And like I said with cyclamen tend to come out or are a little bit more readily available to purchase at big box stores, local nurseries, garden centers. When the weather is a little bit cooler, I don't know if they necessarily just prefer cooler weather. I don't know as much about cyclamen. I do know that they have beautiful foliage. Now they have the blooms. I think the blooms are pretty, but when you really look at the patterns of the leaves, I think they're stunning. They kind of remind me of begonias in a sense. I don't know if you agree with me. But cyclamens, I mean, look at this sea of cyclamens right here. So they make good patio plants, container plants. I don't really know if people actually grow cyclamen in like indoors as like a house plant long term. It's kind of like, looking at poinsettias, Norfolk pine. Last fall, in October, we saw a bunch of crotons, for instance. I don't know if it's just really considered a seasonal plant. And, for me, all of these plants, and I look at like a lot of the poinsettias I'm seeing everywhere, like how many of those poinsettias are actually gonna make it past the Christmas season? You know, in the next, we literally have only about 2 weeks before Christmas Eve, and I cannot tell you how I am just really counting down the days. My holiday season actually tends to be more so right at New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. That's when I really can just slow down and relax. But to go back to the poinsettias, for instance, it just kind of is a little bit disheartening for me, because I do think that the amount of overproduction for poinsettias, knowing that a lot of those plants may end up going to plant heaven, knowing that the planters that they have, all of the plastic we're using, do we really need as many poinsettias, or are we as consumers really demanding that much? So I do ask our plant foldies listening and watching today to leave it in the comments. Like I said, again, your comments mean the world to me. It really does validate that I'm doing a pretty decent job in providing, you know, plant content that can strike and open up conversation. And I think that's the reason why I continue to make plant shopping videos. I do understand that a lot of these big box store plants you've seen yesterday, you've seen the last week, you've seen 6 months ago that I've talked about, but the conversation doesn't really end there. And that is the reason why I hope that y'all will leave some more comments and just really give your personal insights. I respond to every single comment that's left on these plant shopping videos. Now, I do want to go highlight again the beauty of a terracotta planter. And, you know, with terracotta, if you are a person that overwaters plants, like as in you water your plants a little bit more so, terracotta planters actually help mitigate possibly root rot, because it doesn't hold the moisture in the soil substrate nearly as long as, say, plastic planters. So terracotta planters, I think that there is a classic modern look about terracotta planters. I think if you have like a whole, you know, collection of plants that are just in terracotta planters, I've seen people's, certain people have that. I think it's very classy. I think it's very stylish. And I think it's one of those things where it comes down to your aesthetics. I prefer terracotta planters, but for me, I really shouldn't have terracotta planters because I don't really water my plants as consistently as I can. So whenever I do water my plants, I need them to hold on to the moisture a little bit longer. And that's the reason why a lot of my plants are actually either in semi-hydro substrates like Lechuza Pon or Leca, or more so in catch pots where they're still in their nursery planter, and I have them with like a simple planter, like something that's matte. You can see here though that Lowe's has a bunch of planters. The thing about these large planters, for instance, say you repot a plant and you put it in one of those big planters, they're super heavy, and that makes it a little bit difficult. And somebody asked me, how do you manage having a very heavy planter? I would suggest getting a plant stand that's kind of like a roller, so you can kind of just roll it around. I know that I have a Monstera Thai constellation I've been growing for about 4 or 5 years now. It is about 5 feet tall, and it's on a roller because it's definitely going to be heavy to just lift up and move. I also did want to show all of our plant foldies again some of the plant products. You know, I feel like fertilizers, plant products are important to talk about. So earthworm castings are great to add to your soil substrates to really get those microorganisms going, which help with the roots. And then Super Thrive, I live with Super Thrive. That B vitamin really does help replenish a plant, especially when it's stressed. I always recommend it whenever you are repotting a plant or you just need to give a plant a little bit of a boost. I've been using it for years. Some people say it doesn't do anything for the plant, but I do believe that B vitamin will rejuvenate a plant. So if you ever have a plant that's struggling or you're trying to rehab, use Super Thrive with the waterings, and you can water them a little bit more frequently with Super Thrive. It's not going to hurt the plant. I also even use a little bit of Super Thrive whenever I am water propagating cuttings. I think it helps, you know, produce some more roots. And then you can see Miracle Grow fertilizers. You know, some people don't always believe in Miracle Grow products. I actually like them. And the reason why I like Miracle Grow fertilizer is, number one, they are cost effective. And when you talk about, you know, plant products, you want to find products that are cost effective. It's already an expensive hobby. And I would say anybody watching my plant shopping videos, you know that plants can be expensive. Buying plants in general is expensive. Buying the soil substrates, it's expensive. The planters, the grow lights, the fertilizers, it all adds up. And so when it comes to like plant shopping, I try to like, you know, steer people in the right direction in terms of having more cost-effective ways to save money whenever you are shopping for plants or plant products. And that's the reason why whenever I went big box or plant shopping on Black Friday, or even looked at Cyber Monday sales, I was able to get some nice plant products. I know that there's a plant product called We the Wild. I really like their liquid fertilizer because it's all organic, and I've seen the results really work well. If you ask me what fertilizers I stick by, I love Fox Farm fertilizers, the liquid fertilizers, specifically the fish fertilizer. It does really well because you can water your plants with the fish fertilizer a little bit more consistently, a little bit more frequently, especially if you only do like a quarter of the dose that it's asking for. And that's when you're constantly feeding your plants with plant nutrients. Now, this is interesting. It looks like all of the plants, if you see there's a little dash, it's supposed to be 50% off, but there's missing plants. I do like Urban Jungle's terracotta planters. I do like that it's got an interesting pattern to it. You know, you've got a nice white glaze with the terracotta planters, and but there's missing plants. Now, these are some more Costa Farms plants here. Let's take a look at this. This is another Syngonium in a 6-inch planter for $16.98. This particular Syngonium I like because if you notice the leaves are a little bit rounder, you can see that they're a little bit more robust. And you can see that they have that faint pink veining. Syngoniums are always going to be my first love. I love Syngoniums. I've grown Syngoniums. I try to collect as many Syngoniums. The only thing I've realized about Syngoniums is they're not as forgiving when it comes down to not watering them consistently. Syngoniums do not like to stay dry for too long. So you want to make sure whenever you are growing Syngoniums, you wait till the soil is either dry and immediately water it, but do not let it stay dry for more than like a week. Otherwise, your Syngonium will start to have health issues. It'll start to crimple, you know, some of the leaves will start to crisp up, it'll start to curl up, it'll start to droop. It's just not a good look. And you can see over here though, plant foldies, we do have these Philodendron orchid containers with Dracaena Florida Beauty. It's a nice combination containers. Honestly, I'm not a real big fan about like combination containers of plants. I like my plants to be kind of singular, where it's just one plant in a planter. I think sometimes the container arrangements for succulents, I think it makes sense because succulents, they all have similar plant care tips. But when you start mixing plants that need like high light or low light in a container, it makes it more challenging to grow the plants simultaneously in a container. So that's just my honest opinion. But you know, as far as these Philodendron orchids with the Dracaena Florida Beauty, the thing about for the Dracaena Florida Beauty right here, I love the speckling of the leaves, but the thing is, it is a thirsty plant. So when you mix it with a Philodendron orchid, you don't really want to water a Philodendron orchid often because it will promote root rot. So how do you balance them both? I do know that they're in a sphagnum moss substrate which holds on to moisture. My only concern is how about the root? What about the roots of the Philodendron orchid? So those are just some of the questions I ask whenever I look at those combination planters. Now, as far as these Costa Farms plants, you can see this is a Sansevieria for $15.98. Sansevieria trifasciata. It is an easy care plant. It is a plant that supposedly cleans the air more effectively than the average plant. So some people have mentioned having a Sansevieria right next to your bed nightstand. So when you're sleeping, you have that fresh air. I am going to do that. I'm actually going to do some more plant styling in my room. As far as my personal home and my personal plant collection, I have been able to get a lot of the organization down. So whenever I do a house plant tour, it's going to be a very detailed, long one, probably going to be a 2-hour special. And I know everybody's like, I've been talking about it for more than a year. Well, you know, in the past year, I've been able to acquire more than 100 plants, and it's just a jumbled mess for me. And I just really want to make sure I have a quality video for our plant foldies. I feel like you guys deserve that. I don't want to just throw something down and just say, here's my plant collection. Now, as far as collecting plants, bromeliads, that's something I would want to add because it does have that nice pop of color. This Alocasia reginae by Costa Farms Trending Tropicals, $19.98. Love the purple undersides, but if you touch the leaves, it's a very thick, leathery leaf. It almost feels like a very indestructible Alocasia, but it is an Alocasia that is super thirsty, so you have to stay on top of the watering. Aglaonema golden fluorite. Love this. This is by Costa Farms. And, you know, as far as Aglaonemas, again, if you look at it, the veining of the leaves, the different colors it has, the fact that it is drought tolerant, it is low light tolerant, and it's actually not a bad price, $19.98 for an easy care plant. Aglaonemas, if you are watching this video, or if you just found my videos and you want to start an easy care plant collection, buy yourself a Trending Tropicals Costa Farm Aglaonema. They have many varieties, and it looks like they have this is another Aglaonema. This almost looks like a green papaya next to a golden floret, but it might be a golden fluorite. So you know, let me know in the comments. But what I do know about Aglaonema is especially with the brighter yellows, the pinks, the reds, and the white varieties, the ones that are basically not green, they're a little bit slower growing, and they do need a little bit more light to really accentuate the colors. But as far as the plant, what I like about Aglaonemas is they self-propagate. Like this one right here, this is an Aglaonema Maria, $15.98 by Costa Farms. And every single Costa Farms Aglaonema that I pick up or have shown in any of my big box store plant shopping videos, I pretty much own all of them. I literally collect and hoard any Aglaonema I can find. And what's interesting is I bought Aglaonema from Amazon, and I'm gonna do an unboxing video for you to check that out. But I didn't even realize Amazon had some really nice live plants for very cost effective. Like I ended up buying 4 Aglaonema for $44.97, and the shipping was free. And I ended up getting an Aglaonema Pictum tricolor, which by itself, a small variety, is at least $29.99, but it was with my other Aglaonema. So you will definitely see that unboxing in another future video of mine. I think I'm gonna combined it with another big box store plant shopping video, but we'll see. Now, plant foldies, take a look at these Geonanthus plants. So I actually bought a Geonanthus plant, not this black one by Proven Winners, and it's been more durable, more forgiving than this black Geonanthus plant, this Geo plant. Like I thought I could grow it because, you know, when you touch the leaves, you would think that it's waxy, it's thick, and that it doesn't require as much water, but it is a very thirsty plant, and it just was about to make it to plant heaven. So I ended up parting ways with it. And you know, that's the thing, it is all about you know, keeping plants that are going to keep you happy, bring you joy. If a plant is really giving you a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety because of the plant care, then there are times where you really have to reassess whether that plant is worth keeping in your plant collection. You know, it is a controversial topic when it comes to, you know, whether you should just compost a plant. I've seen some plant YouTubers do that, and they got a lot of flack for just basically composting plants because they either had too many plants and you know, somebody is trying to downsize their collection, or that plant is infested with pests and it's just beyond the amount of time and effort that somebody is willing to do for plants. So for me, you know, as I look at these trending tropical plants, like this is a Philodendron Ring of Fire, I like to think of plants as you know, knowing your limits on how many plants you're adding to your plant collection. I can't tell you how satisfying it is for anybody that has more of a curated, more intentional plant collection versus just buying every single plant that is tempting you to buy because you feel like you need the plant. It's easier said than done because I've done that the last month. I've just literally bought plants left and right thinking that I had the time or space for it. But you know, it actually did bring me a little bit more stress because I couldn't keep up with the plants. So like I had to slow down and think about what plants I want. And so as far as my plant collection, I am really just focused more on collecting Aglaonema because they have very easy care. Pothos plants because who doesn't like a Pothos plant? Monsteras and certain Philodendron, and that's really about it. Like I was wanting to try to get into more begonias and other things like that, but it's one of those things where you can't have every single plant unless you have a greenhouse with, you know, temperature control, humidity control. There's only so many plants you can grow in your plant collection until it becomes, number one, too cluttered for you to really enjoy. Number two, too much for you to maintain. I've talked to a couple of plant foldies and they said it takes literally an entire day to go through and water plants. And for me, I just don't even have time for that. You know, the maximum of time I would spend watering my plants is maybe 2 hours, and that's a span of a day where I have the day off. So it's interesting. And then, you know, as far as Aglaonema, like we're looking at this one again, this is for $19.98. At least having an Aglaonema, it's super forgiving in a sense that you don't always have to water it. Like there was one Aglaonema I literally didn't water for about a month and it was fine. It didn't have any problems with it. And so I don't know. I asked this question every single plant shopping video as to why Aglaonemas are not really heavily sought after, why we don't see a lot of other plant influencers or plant YouTubers really talking about Aglaonemas. I find that this plant is highly underrated for the amount of benefits and joy this plant can give. Like, look at how gorgeous this is. So it's supposedly the same Aglaonema, but if you notice, the other one is lighter and this one has more of a green tone about it. The diversity of Aglaonemas is amazing, and I want to do another episode where I specifically talk about my Aglaonema collection. I have more than 40 varieties of Aglaonema growing in my care, and I hope to continue to grow that plant collection. There's just so many of them that I can pick and choose from, and the fact that I have this steady influx of, you know, reputable international sellers from Indonesia, I feel fortunate because there have been some horror stories that I've read about people doing imports from sellers where they either never got their plants, they were scammed, and at least the 2 or 3 sellers I have from Indonesia, number 1, they send me pictures of the plants that I'm actually getting. Number 2, they send me videos of the plants. And then number 3, the pictures and videos match the plants that I receive when I receive them in a timely manner. So for me, it's one of those things where once you find a trusted, reputable seller, you never really want to move around from that. And as far as Aglaonemas, you know, you can find a lot of them by Costa Farms, for instance. But even then, there are so many different varieties that a lot of the people in the United States don't get to see. And I'm hoping that this channel will actually expose a lot of people to some more of that beauty. Now, as far as this plant right here, this is a Xanthosoma. This one is actually a fairly easy plant to take care of. What I like about it is it does get a little bit droopy, but when you don't water it, but as soon as you water it, literally within an hour or 2, it perks back up. People have said in the past that this is a finicky plant, but honestly, it's a lot easier than most people give it credit for. This one right here is a Calathea dotty, and this is an urban jungle plant. Love the terracotta look on the planter. This one is only for $22.98, and you can see I have this particular Calathea. I bought it because it was super tempting. It basically told me I needed to buy it. It was $18.88 in a 10-inch planter. I had to trim off a lot of the dead leaves. But what I found about Calatheas is they just really want their soil to never really dry out. And so I have this routine where every other day I just basically take my Calathea dotty, put it under the shower and water it. And it's actually been doing well. I don't see a lot of brown crisping on the leaves. It is really close to the bathroom. And I think for a lot of plants, whether this is that Calathea rospicta again by Urban Jungle, if you have a plant that's a little bit needy, put it in an area that you frequent, whether it's your kitchen sink where you can just take the plant and water it because you're right next to a water source, or a plant being next to the bathroom where you have your shower head ready to just water the plant. But Calatheas, they're just really challenging plants, although they are pet friendly. So if you have a furry friend, a pet, you can actually have Calatheas, but the problem is Calatheas have to be consistently watered. If you can provide them with more humidity, that's even better. But if you're not able to give them that type of care, they're going to rebel. They're going to become a diva. They are going to find a way to try to get to plant heaven and put themselves out of misery because their leaves will curl up, they will brown up and crisp up, and they will not be as beautiful as this plant right over here. you can see these are really cute kokedama succulent arrangements. I haven't really seen that, and they use coconut husks to make it. So, you know, these are more of a, I guess, environmentally friendly planters. You can see we've got a cactus right over here. I like hanging basket plants, but I don't really want to drill a lot of holes in my ceilings. So it's one of those things where I need to find creative ways. Maybe I can get like a pole or something that can just go across a wall where I can actually just hang the plants. Let me know in the comments if you have creative ways of actually hanging baskets of plants or even kokedama like this. You can see that this is another succulent plant, and really you don't have to water this at all, because if you do, it looks like it's in sphagnum moss, and you know, with the sphagnum moss it would just be a little bit more of moisture that's stuck there. But I do find that, you know, there are creative ways to display and pot up a plant. Again, these are only for $15.98. I like them, and you know, I'm curious to ask everybody that's been you know, doing their Christmas shopping or holiday plant shopping, are you actually giving, you know, plants as a Christmas gift? You know, my family asked me if I wanted any gifts, and really I don't expect gifts, but you know, if they're asking, I told them the best gift you can give me, just because I have a plant addiction, is getting me Lowe's, Home Depot, or Walmart gift cards. That way I can buy more plants rather than to spend all of my money, especially when I do these big box store plant shopping videos. I did want to thank some of the viewers that have sent me, you know, a gift card for one of these big box stores. It does help out a lot, and you know, as far as even the funding to drive from one area to another, it does get a little bit costly. And so all of that support that I've been giving by our Plantfoldy community, I really appreciate it. The simple fact that the really loyal Plantfoldies always show up for my live premiere chats, whether it is a plant shopping marathon of some of my recycled content, or a brand new live premiere where everybody is actually just engaged in chatting. And you can see here that beautiful morning sun. It is my favorite time of the day. I always feel like mornings, and I've said this before, it is really a symbol of just new beginnings, new hope, seizing the day, all of that. And you know, as far as me starting my my day off by going to a big box store and doing a plant shopping video, it brings me so much joy because of just the morning sun and that morning light. And as far as the sunlight for the plants, that is really the best type of lighting any plant would want, is that morning sun. It is a gentle light, and it is a light that definitely gives these plants a lot of vigor and nutrients. I mean, you can see here beautiful Epipremnum aureum Marble Queen Pothos. These ones are for $16.98. These are the Live Trends ceramic hanging baskets, and I love it. I love pothos plants. I love golden pothos. I mean, this one is a nice and full one. And you know, as far as these hanging baskets by Live Trends, it's just so modern, and I just love the sleek look about it, and the fact that it is an easy care plant. Pothos plants are very basic to a lot of people, but basic is the best type of plant you want. You want a plant that doesn't require you to just break your back and have to like do so many plant care tips. You know, it's interesting that the plants we desire sometimes are the plants that require so much care. Like this one right here, this Philodendron heteroecium neon, beautiful neon yellow colored plant. One of my favorite, one of the most underrated plants as well, but it is another plant that really has a statement. I mean, look at how gorgeous the color is on it. And again, to get that yellow or neon color, you have to provide it with quite a bit of light for it to really push out that color. Otherwise, it tends to be a little bit more on the darker green side. I ended up getting multiples of this plant because it's just another plant that I enjoy, even though it is a basic plant. And, you know, some people say try not to have duplicates of plants. There are certain plants I don't mind having duplicates of, whether it is all of the different types of Pothos or Epipremnum aureum or the Philodendron heteroecium series. They are just easy care plants, and just how gorgeous that morning light is as it hits this one. This one is another Live Trends plant. This one is a Philodendron heteroecium, just a green form. So you saw the neon colored form. Now we have the green form, and this one is going to be a little bit more, how do I say it? A little bit more fast in its growth as compared to the neon colored one. I mean, they're fairly similar, you know, they're still pretty decent growers, but if you compare a Philodendron heteroraceum versus an Epipremnum aureum or a Pothos plant, these plants tend to grow a little bit slower, not as slow. They're still pretty vigorous. I will say when it comes to fertilizing a Philodendron heteroraceum like this, or even a Pothos plant, you can actually fertilize them pretty much in every watering if your fertilizer is actually at the very small, minute dose. And what I mean is, say if it asks you to put a tablespoon of that liquid fertilizer in a gallon, I put maybe a quarter of a tablespoon in the gallon of water, and it really just makes it a little bit more diluted to where there's just a little trace of nutrients. I do think that by watering and feeding my plants consistently whenever I do get to watering them, gives them a little bit more of a boost as far as just the growth. And then this is a beautiful Syngonium Maria, as well as a Philodendron Moonlight. Love the Philodendron Moonlight, but what I also love about Live Trends is they have very seasonally relevant planters. So they've got holiday planters. These would make good Christmas gifts. So if you're going to do your Christmas shopping, you can even get somebody this beautiful Philodendron Moonlight. I would consider this an easy to care for plant. This is a plant that's readily available. This is a plant that if you provide it with quite a bit of bright light, it's going to give you that beautiful neon variegation, or not variegation, but coloration. And to me, it's one of those plants that we all need in our plant collection. We need plants that are going to be easy to care for. I cannot stress to you all, especially those that are new to the channel, how plants can bring you a lot of joy when you have the right easy care plants versus going for the really flamboyant, rare plants that everybody might find on Instagram. And I do think, you know, when it comes down to like growing a plant collection, one of my biggest advice, and we'll talk about this in more detail on the Cultivation Corner Plant Podcast, is not following trends, not going on Instagram and comparing your plant collection to the person that has, you know, 100,000 followers. They're a plant influencer, and every single photo that they post about their plants is some type of variegated Monstera, variegated Philodendron, because to me, a lot of that is still staged. And that's not to call out anybody, because even when I do some of my plant photos of some of my plants, I try to stage them to where they're presented in the best way possible. But know that even the person that has a seemingly perfect plant collection on, you know, social media, I'm sure that they've had plant pests. I'm sure that they have browning leaves on their leaves. I'm sure they've had fungus gnats, thrifts, spider mites, all of that. It's just that with social media, people can control what the general public sees, you know, and it's crazy because as I pick up these plants, I do love this Zenzi ZZ plant. I think about the rise of AI, or, you know, artificial intelligence. What does that look like? Do we just have people that are able to create photos of plants that are perfect? Is it really the real plant? So that's why I think that comparing, you know, plants, your plant collection to somebody else, it's definitely a no-no for me. I try not to do that. Sometimes I do get a little bit envious about some of the rare Aglaonemas that I see on some of those Indonesian seller pages, and it just makes me want to like save my money. But as far as like knowing the plants I'm interested in, I try not to follow trends, and that is the reason why I will talk about basic, easy to care for plants like this Zenzi ZZ plant. I have yet to get this, and I love ZZ plants. People find them basic, but they're so easy. And the care tip for it is you don't really water them consistently, because they tend to do better when they're on the drier side, and they can tolerate lower light conditions. Now this Ficus ginseng right here, this is another Live Trends plant. This one is going to need a little bit more light. Ficus plants in general are finicky because number one, they require a little bit more consistency when it comes to the watering. And then number two, they need quite a bit of light. So whenever you think about a plant that's thirsty plus needs more light, those are things that kind of factor into your daily routine. So whether you have enough time to water the plant, or better yet, whether you have the right lighting conditions, because most indoor spaces don't necessarily have all of those bright south-facing windows, so you have to supplement with grow lights. Now this Sansevieria right over here, this bird's nest Sansevieria, I do recommend it. It's one of those plants that it's easy. It's a plant that I think for anybody that's starting a collection, you should add. I've actually added quite a bit of Sansevieria. I recently got a variegated Sansevieria starfish plant. It was more of a splurge. Yes, it is variegated, but it's one of those plants that I don't mind spending a little bit more money. Number one, because I want to always support PETA's planters. I say shop small during this holiday season, support local businesses as well, even though we do have a lot of these like plants at big box stores. You know, you can see here we do have a bunch of urban jungle plants, and these are for $14 or $13.98. This is some type of fern, and you can see that there's just a little bit browning on the leaves. I'm not necessarily somebody that's into ferns. They just tend to need a little bit more water, and that's just not, you know, the right conditions for my home. And you can see right over here, we've got a red marantha. Although maranthas are supposedly more forgiving, they're a plant that is a little bit more challenging as compared to other plants like philodendrons or pothos plants. So it's not that I want to discourage anybody from like maranthas and calatheas. I'm really just speaking from my experience. And I'll tell you, I've sent quite a bit of plants to Plant Heaven because of the, you know, not having the right environment for them. Now this Syndapsis Silver Ann by Live Trends planter right here, this is a beautiful ceramic planter. I find this plant in a 6-inch planter really pretty. I think it's for $24.98. If I had all the money in the world, I would splurge and buy every single hanging basket by Live Trends. Their ceramic planters are very sleek, and although I prefer more of a matte finish, that robust, bold, like red color is nice. And look at this. Look at how gorgeous this neon pothos is. You can see that it is very full, and so that's a plus. And then look at how the morning light hits this pothos plant. You know, I'm gonna go off the record and basically say, if you're gonna ask me what my favorite pothos plant is, it's going to be the neon pothos this current stage of my plant journey, because it just has such beautiful colors. It is just a gorgeous plant, and it is a plant that still grows fairly vigorously, and you can propagate it. Like, I'm propagating so many pothos plants, and I'm hoping to combine a lot of my pothos cuttings into one planter, so I have like a combination of different types of pothos. I want to do something a little bit more creative, but like if I had $24.98, I would totally buy this neon pothos plant. There is just a little cosmetic damage with one of the leaves having browning. I would say if you have any like crispy or browny parts on a leaf, you can just take a pair of scissors and cut it off. It won't hurt the plant, but it will actually improve the overall aesthetic and beauty of the plant. That's what I do with a lot of my plants that are suffering, is if they have browning or crisping leaves, I just cut it off. That's called manicuring your plant. I learned that from my grandmother. And again, for those that have not seen my grandmother in my YouTube videos, please definitely check it out. She is the master when it comes to plants, and it's because she has very good routines around it. Growing a beautiful plant collection requires work. Just like anything in life, if you put enough work and effort into it, your results are going to just be enhanced. And that's what I want to do. I am just very excited that I have plants in my life, because it's almost like a double-edged sword. In one sense, plants do bring me a little bit of stress, in a sense that I have to like actually go in and do the plant chores. But on the more positive side, they just bring me a sense of joy. It brings me a sense of satisfaction when I see even the most minute details of a plant, like having a new growth point, or a new leaf that it's unfurling, or a new root that's popping up whenever I've stuck them in water and water propagated it. So I actually want to ask you guys, if you've made it this far into the video, again, to number 1, hit the like button if you haven't already. I would really appreciate it. And then number 2, leave me some more insights or plant comments about, you know, what brings you joy when it goes to like your plant collection. I really like hearing your stories, and I like seeing the community chatter even past the live chat, and actually going into the comment section. Would really like that. And if you notice, plant foldies, I'm literally just showing you the plants that I believe brings me joy. I mean, all of these hanging baskets right here, let's just keep pulling these up, and you just let me know which ones you would buy. This one is just another gorgeous and classic Philodendron hederaceum, just a green form, beautiful plant. And what's interesting about this plant is you can grow it as a trailing hanging basket plant, or you can put it up a pole, a plank, something that will give it support to climb up, and the leaves will get larger. And this is interesting. I do like this bird's nest fern. If I am going to add a fern, I would just add a bird's nest fern. I'm probably going to get a variegated bird's nest fern. And yes, I did use the keyword variegated. I would say when it comes down to a more curated plant collection, if I am going to keep adding plants, it would be plants that either number one, they're an easy care plant, or number two, they're going to be something that's a little bit more of a collector's piece, and it actually justifies why it would take up a little bit more of space in my plant. But as far as like the bird's nest fern, that would be something I would add, but I think I would want a little bit more leaf interest in terms of just the variegation. And Syngoniums, again, that's another easy plant if you're going to want an easy care plant, as well as this classic Philodendron heteroecium, Brazil. To get the cream or neon colors, you want to provide it with a little bit more bright indirect light. That is a plant I could have multiples of. I love Philodendron heteroecium Brazil. Having a really full and lush hanging basket would be perfect for any space, and it's one that I think is readily available for anybody. So I'm just going to keep walking around here and showing you some more of these plants. Let me know in the comments section which plants you would buy, which plants you would stay away from, and which plants are your favorites whenever you go big box or plant shopping.
The pain you were never once over. Cut the cord that kept us connected, blacking out the mirror where your light once reflected. All of the love from up above, we used to feel like a glove.
Looking at something as simple as that planter, it's nice, tall, and just a terracotta really looks great for that ZZ plant. And as I pan away here, even though this Lowe's doesn't have nearly as many plants as the one that I've shown in previous, they still have quite a bit of plants. And I have to show you the color story of this beautiful, all of the beautiful planters that they have here. And that's another thing that I want to get into, is talking about planters, really talking about plant aesthetics, what I personally like. So I'm going to show you some of the planters. I always show you this. I definitely want to get this ginkgo biloba leaf planter for $27.48. I'm actually going to take a photo of my ginkgo plant and post it on my Instagram because it has turned yellow and it is beautiful. And then over here, look at this minty green planter. Really love that modern, sleek look about it. And in all of these plants right here, even this one right here has a really nice texture. I love how it's got a nice earth tone about it. It's matte, and even just the speckling of white that gives it a little bit more of an interest. Again, it is all about neutrals for me and matte finishes and very sleek plain colors that I like for my plants, because I like the planters to really be more of a vessel to really accentuate the plant's beauty versus taking away from it. Some people, disagree on that sense, but that's just my personal plant aesthetic. And I've noticed that this Rex begonia is still available. This one is the Red Kiss begonia by Costa Farms. $16.98. Now, if this was actually on 50% off clearance, I would totally buy it. Rex begonias are a little bit more challenging, but if you are able to stay on top of the watering and you bottom water them, you're going to be able to grow them a little bit more successfully. Steve's Leaves Plants is the premier place to buy begonias. I would highly recommend going to stevesleaves.com and ordering your begonias there. I've been able to look at that actual nursery, and I'm hoping to visit it again because they have some amazing plants. And as I do my plant shopping videos, as I continue to talk about plants, I want to continue to really elevate and promote all of the local nurseries out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. If you haven't already, definitely check out my video of the plants and planters. It is one of the oldest oldest nurseries out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It is based out in Richardson, Texas. If you're looking for large form Aglaonema, you must go there because I ended up finding some amazing plants. Now, as you can see here, it is a big box store plant shopping video. So you can see that there are a lot of these Costa Farms plants. Like this one right here, I believe is the Polynesian ivy. I want to get it. And this one has been here for more than a month. And look at how much growth this plant has given. There is a little bit of yellowing on the leaves. So I don't know if it's really a plant pest or if it's just not getting enough water, but it looks so pretty to me. And that is another plant I wouldn't mind adding to my plant collection. But, you know, when I talked about downsizing my plant collection, or even not even downsizing, being more intentional about what plants I want to collect, it doesn't really fit the bill to really want to add it. And so I have also thought about just, you know, going to plant shop, you know, doing plant shopping videos to, you know, window shop just to admire the plants versus actually taking them home. It sounds like a silly, you know, technique, but it's one that I don't mind actually doing. And I feel like some of our plant foldies, you guys utilize my plant shopping videos just to look at some of the plants you might not be privy to or actually have available at your stores. And so again, I did want to say thank you to everybody that continues to support my plant shopping videos. I really appreciate y'all. And there are so many great things ahead as far as the YouTube channel. You can see here, this is a beautiful Aglaonema White Rain, another beautiful plant. I actually found one at Home Depot for $29.98 in a 10-inch planter. And when you talk about like, how do you save money on plants? What does your plant budget look like? How do you look at your financing for this type of hobby? I say look at you know, comparing prices. Look at the plant pricing, what's currently in the market, and that's really going to help guide you on what plants are worth purchasing for their price. Now, if you are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, for instance, like I say in all my videos, if you want to know the local plant pricing, current plant pricing in the DFW market, definitely hit the subscribe button, but definitely make sure you hit the all notification bell. Change it from personalized notifications to all notifications. So whenever I upload a video, if I upload a community post, you will always get that notification. Now, as far as this Ficus elastica taniki, this is super cute for $14.98 by Urban Jungle. It is another beautiful plant, and this one I would say is a Philodendron Red Imperial. It looks like a Philodendron Black Cardinal for $13.98, and I love dark foliage plants, and that is another Philodendron that I feel like is underrated as well. There is a certain elegance and simplicity about it that really brings me joy, and this is one of those plants that I just feel like we could add to any collection. It is an easy to care for plant. It is a plant that I would recommend growing in a little bit more light to really push out that dark foliage, just like neon colored plants, just like pink plants or plants with color. More light is really going to influence it to grow more of the colors you want to push out for it. So that's just, you know, my opinion about it. And you can see here, it is another Peperomia obtusifolia. This is a very durable plant. This is another plant that I feel like even with the variegation, not a lot of people are running to grow Peperomias. The care tips for this plant is water when the soil is dry, water it really thoroughly, and then just give it bright indirect light. Another easy to care for plant. Actually, all of the Urban Jungle plants I'm picking up, like this Philodendron Red Imperial, for instance, it's easy care. It's a basic plant. It's a cost-effective plant. It's a plant that I feel like if you spend $13.98, it's not a bad price for the plant at all, especially since you're getting a nice stylish terracotta planter. I mean, you can see right here, look at this Ficus elastica, and I love the taniki. The variegation is gorgeous. I just don't have one that I have been able to grow consistently because it requires quite a bit of light. Now, if you're going to ask me the best places to buy a Ficus elastica, whether any type of rubber tree plant, I would go to Trader Joe's. They sell them for 6-inch planters for $12.99, and they're a fairly big price, you know, pretty good price. And you can see here, we have a Ficus Audrey, beautiful plant as well, and then a classic Aglaonema Silver Bay. Like I've said in all my videos, Aglaonema Silver Bay is another classic plant. It is a plant that I would recommend growing in anybody's houseplant collection because it's easy, It's low light tolerant, it's drought tolerant. It's one of those plants that again is underrated, but you can put that plant alongside with this Dracaena right over here in a lower light setting, and you'll still be able to grow it. And then you can see over here, this is a beautiful Epipremnum aureum lemon meringue pothos, although it doesn't have nearly as much variegation. The thing about these green on green variegated pothos plants is you have to provide it with quite a bit of light for it to really push out. Notice how it has more variegation from the actual new growth versus the growth that it had, like the older growth. I do love pothos plants. I mean, leave it in the comments if you are a pothos collector. I know a lot of my close plant friends, they prefer pothos over some of the more challenging plants like Calatheas. I will always take a pothos plant. So if anybody's ever going to give me a plant gift, whether it's an Aglaonema or a pothos plant, I will always take it, or just any gift in general. That's funny because I always get messages about what plants I like, what plants I would want, and I always respond Aglaonema as well as pothos plants. But as I wrap up this plant shopping video, I did just want to show you again these Aglaonemas. I think that these Aglaonemas need to be rescued at this point because they've been sitting here for a while and nobody's really been buying them. If you are in the DFW area, definitely get yourself an Aglaonema. As always, please make sure you are hitting the like button for this video. I'm glad that I was able to get a brand new video for a Saturday plant party. And as always, please make sure you are subscribed to my channel at GrowFolds with the notification bell on. I will have a brand new unboxing video tomorrow for Sunday. See you then.
Good day, my plant foldies. This is Richie at GrowFolds, and today we'll be big box store plant shopping at Lowe's out in Prosper, Texas. As always, please make sure you're hitting the like button for this video, as well as following me on Instagram at GrowFolds. That is the fastest and most direct way to get in touch with me. So this late afternoon, early evening excursion of a plant shopping video is done right before Thanksgiving. And actually, I hope everybody has had a great Thanksgiving. I know that I was able to have a day off and actually spend some quality time with my family. I had my sister over with my nephew and my nieces, and it was a fun time. We played some board games, but Thanksgiving is a time where I feel like we can reflect for that one day, but we actually have many days where we can reflect on how thankful we are. I know that I'm super thankful to be able to just make this plant content for all of our plant foldies. And if you are new to this channel, I call my viewers and subscribers plant foldies. Welcome. My name is Richie, but as far as the community we have at GrowFolds, the plant foldies have been amazing. You guys have done such a great job just supporting me, really engaging with me, really inspiring me to continue to do daily 1-hour plant shopping videos, whether it is at a big box store, a plant show, or a local nursery. Today I am going to one of my favorite big box stores, and that is Lowe's, specifically the Prosper, Texas location. This is in close proximity to where I am based at, and you can see right over here we have some awesome amaryllis flowers. These are indoor blooms that typically come out during the holidays alongside with poinsettias, and you can see that we also have some Costa Farms plants right here for $15.98. We've got an Aglaonema red cyan. The last video I did was Plants and Planters. It's a local nursery out in Richardson, Texas, and they had some amazing Aglaonemas. If you watch my channel, you already know I am a fanatic when it comes to Aglaonemas. I buy them typically at big box stores, local nurseries, and even get them imported from overseas. I'm actually super excited to be getting another Green Spaces ID import from them. They are actually sending me tons of new Aglaonemas. I would say Indonesia actually has some of the best Aglaonemas in the world. But as far as just these common red Aglaonema, this is that red Siam Aglaonema for $15.98. Really like that as well. I am actually curious if everybody that watches my videos have actually gone out today to go Black Friday shopping. I honestly did a little bit of Black Friday shopping, and that's really for more of my plant care. I ended up buying some Weed the Wild plant products. I typically like their neem oil spray, which I use to make my leaves shiny on my plants, but also to protect them from plant pests. They had a 50% off sale, as well as the We the Wild nutrient solution. I like to use that as well. It's a really nice organic fertilizer. So that's kind of what I've done as far as the Black Friday plant shopping. So I'm curious to see if anybody else has actually done some Black Friday plant shopping. Please leave in the comments below what kind of plants you bought during Black Friday, or if you are even a Black Friday shopper. I know that I typically avoid big box stores when it comes to Black Fridays just because of the lines, and it looks like some retailers are starting to get the lines back up by doing all of their Black Friday sales the day of. So I'm just curious if anybody's done some plant shopping, but you can see right here, it is late evening when I filmed this, and I actually am excited to be able to show you some of the plants that they have here. You know, Lowe's is really one of the best big box stores to go buy plants, because they have so many plants that are sourced out from, say, Live Trends plants. These are the more stylish looking plants. I love this bird's nest Sansevieria. This is only for $16.98. And what I love about Live Trends plants is they have some really stylistic planters. I really like that they're very modern, minimalistic, just absolutely elegant as well. And I just like the minimalist approach. We also have urban jungle plants that are sourced to Lowe's. This one is for $13.98. This is a Dracaena white jewel, and I love Dracaenas as well because they're so easy to care for. And you know, the running theme for a lot of my plant shopping videos, as I continue to just make these, I know that you've seen a lot of these videos, a lot of these plants from the day before, last week, last month, even as early as last year. But the thing I like to do with these plant shopping videos is really to walk around and just show you plants as if you are just hanging out with me, but more so just give you my plant commentary, my personal insights, and just anything that's related to plants, or even my my day-to-day routines with my life. As you can see right here, we do have some Haworthias. I love Haworthias, and didn't even realize until I started doing plant shopping videos that these are succulent plants that can tolerate lower light conditions, because whenever you think of a succulent or cactus, it's very synonymous to bright light or even full sun, but Haworthias are actually similar to Sansevierias in a sense that they can tolerate lower light conditions. Now, obviously, if you can give them more light, just like any plant, bright indirect light is always going to make the plant grow a little bit better, a little bit more vigorous, and just keep them a little bit healthier because they're able to photosynthesize. But there are plants that are low light tolerant, which makes these plants candidates to be easy care plants. You know, easy care plants is another topic that I want to continue to push to our plant foldy community. I love the fact that despite the diversity of plants that are really making it into the market, you know, there's a lot of these new hybrids for philodendrons, for instance, variegated plants, but let's not forget the easy care common plants that you can find at big box stores, you know, like Pothos plants, Dracaena, Aglaonema, those types of plants. And I'll show you and give you a little bit more insight today about the care for some of those plants. Now you can see again, Live Trends has some awesome seasonally relevant plants and planters. Like look at this one right here, cute snowman planter with some air plants. Now, I don't really own a single air plant, but as far as I can tell, air plants are really easy to care for plants. As far as like watering them, you literally just douse them or just dunk them in water, soak them completely for like a minute or two, and then pull them out, let them dry, and that is it. At least that's the basic layman terms of how to take care of air plants. Now, if you have any more specifics about like air plant care tips, please feel free to leave in the comments your care tips or anything that's plant related. Like I said in all my videos, it's really exciting for me to really hear from you guys. I know that I'll talk your ear off literally for an entire hour about plants. I love to talk, as you can tell from all of the videos I produced this year, but I also like to hear from our plant foldy community. So I hope that you will take the time time to leave comments about some of the plants you're seeing in this video today, your opinions about plants, holiday plants that you would just grow as a holiday plant, anything plant related, I would love. And then if you made it this far into the video already but haven't hit the like button, please make sure you are hitting the like button for this video. It helps a huge ton whenever you guys hit the like button. The more likes a video has, typically YouTube will push it out to more plant lovers like yourself. And I really hope that we can reach 12,000 subscribers by the end of December, heading into 2025. You know, there's a lot of things to be super excited about 2025. For me, this year has been phenomenal. You know, I was talking about the things that I was really thankful for, and I'll sum it up again. And that's really my health. Every day being able to wake up and just be healthy, to have a career that's very stable, and then also just my friends and family, all of the people that are in my life, and also the plant foldy community. You guys have been amazing. To be able to meet some of you guys in person from all of the plant shows I've been able to cover, and just for all of the messages and interactions I have for the future plant foldies I have yet to meet. Those are just some of the things I've been really thankful for this year. But you know, as far as like Thanksgiving, it shouldn't be just a day where you're thankful for. Always show gratitude. I know that I am just very thankful for all of the small things that happen for me on a daily basis. Sometimes it's hard to see that, especially when things may not always go your way. But as far as me, I really am trying to choose the positive route, whether it's some of the shortcomings I may have had with some of my plants, or just some of the failures I've had with my plant collection. You know, I have gotten to the point where I started to feel a little bit of plant burnout. I started to feel overwhelmed. I started to feel a little bit stressed. You know, last year I was really battling a lot of anxiety, and you know, plants have really helped me heal, helped me cope with some of the stresses of life. But then again, it's also self-induced. So as I do these plant shopping videos, you know, I'm showing you these gorgeous live trend planters. Now, for instance, these are for $24.98. This Philodendron heteroecium, for instance. The temptation to buy more plants and inundate my plant collection causes me to sometimes be a little bit more overwhelmed. Now, as far as Thanksgiving, you know, I had my sister and her family over. We played board games, we cooked, and then when they left, I was able to take some time to really do some plant chores. And I say plant chores because growing plants is not always an easy thing to do. There are a lot of things that you have to invest. A lot of it has to do with time. And as far as time, I do believe that time is the most precious thing that you can give yourself as you live, because time is very limited. It's very fleeting. It's one of those things that you have to make every half second count throughout the day. And for me, as I show you all of these plants, for instance, like this Epipremnum aureum pearls and jade, I have to really limit myself to more of these basic or easy care plants. I was really getting into collecting more of the rare variegated plants. I was really getting into, you know, collecting Alocasias, Calatheas, you know, the plants that have really nice foliage, but they're a little bit tougher to grow. So now I am reeling it back in and just going back into my Pothos era. It's one of those things where when you go to the basics and you start to look at these easy care plants and see that there's new growth, you're able to propagate more because you're able to like actually grow the plant out. To me, that's a little bit more satisfying. To me, it's a little bit more minimalistic in the care, and you're able to actually enjoy a plant collection. I say this, and I know that some of you guys are looking at some of the plant care tips I will mention with a lot of these plants. Just feel free to watch me pick up some plants, really admire them, but know that I'm gonna spend a little bit more time on this video just giving you some more of my thoughts about plants. I've also realized that as I've done these plant shopping videos, that I've spent quite a bit of money, because the plant addiction that a lot of us may have, I mean, I already know I have a plant addiction. I feel like if I see a plant like this, for instance, this urban jungle plant, this Ficus lyrata, for instance, for $13.98, that is when you know I don't even have to look at plant pricing to know the plants, because I've been at a big box store, plant shopping, or local nurseries. The temptation to just pick up every single plant you think is beautiful is very easy, but I will give you guys a little bit of tips. it is even easier long term when you go plant shopping and you have an idea of what plant you want to buy. So for instance, you've done your research, you know some of the basic care tips. It keeps you in line with actually having a plant budget. And I do have to ask anybody watching this video for my plant foldies, or for anybody who has just clicked on this video and maybe a potential new viewer, again, welcome to the channel. I would like to know, on average, in the comment section, how much do you spend on plants on a monthly basis? I just really want to see what everybody's range is. I know that the last 3 months, I have probably spent an entire mortgage payment on all of the plants I've acquired, whether it's at a plant show, a big box store, a local nursery, or even importing plants. It all adds up. So as far as 2025, and it's really just a couple more weeks until we're into the new year, there are going to be some things that I'm going to make some adjustments with. I'm allowing myself to kind of spoil myself with some of the plants. I'm still acquiring plants, and I know my very loyal plant foldie, Kathy from Canada, I know you're waiting for me to do a houseplant tour. It is coming. It may come as a Christmas present, who knows? But again, it's all a matter of me actually getting my plants organized. So I don't know if you guys are like me, where you keep acquiring plants, you want to keep growing plants, but then your plant collection becomes super cluttered. They're all over. There's no open space for you to like just admire the plants. That's really the current state of my my plant collection, and I'm okay with being transparent because, you know, there's a lot of plant YouTubers or plant influencers or anybody who makes plant content. Some of them have really perfect plant collections. I can tell you that you know, sometimes it's more curated for what the eye actually sees or what the viewer sees. It's like with me, whenever I do plant shopping videos, I don't really have like massive editing. All I do is literally walk into a plant shop, a big box store, a nursery, someplace, and just point and shoot. And then I just do a voiceover like this and give you guys my plant insight. So, you know, but to go back to some of the plants that we see from other plant influencers where they just have perfect leaves, perfect growth, to me, that's not always a realistic goal. And I've told a lot of my plant foldie viewers that we need to not compare ourselves to other people. We shouldn't get jealous about whether somebody has acquired certain plants. We need to be satisfied with the plants we have. And a prime example would be my grandmother. If you haven't seen her plant videos, I have a couple that are mixed in with some of my big box store plant shopping videos. You will find her in the thumbnail, but she has what most people would consider as basic plants, you know, like Pothos plants, Aglaonema, cordyline plants, Dracaena, those types of plants. And she's really perfectly content with having those plants, multiplying the same plant and really getting that lush growth. So I just want to know everybody's opinions on that, on whether you sometimes find yourself comparing yourself to other people's plant collections. For me, I kind of stated the course. I know that a lot of times I talk about Aglaonemas, and maybe some of you guys probably may not even love Aglaonema, no matter how many times I talk about it. But for me, it's one of those things where I buy the plants that bring me joy. I don't try to follow trends, because when we follow trends, it's a never ending battle where you're always looking for the next hot plant. Prime example would be whenever I was going around trying to find the Dock Block Antheria Michelle by Proven Winners that was released at Home Depot. I mean, luckily I was able to acquire it, but really it was more so for me to just kind of feed the fad of, you know, everybody searching for it, everybody posting that content for people to see whether they can find a Dock Block Antheria Michelle. Now, as far as my Dock Block Antheria Michelle, I do want to gift it to a friend, but before I do that, I'm actually going to put it in semi-hydro substrate called Lechuza Pond. It just makes it easier. But let me go back to the plants that are here at this Lowe's location. As you can see, Urban Jungle, for instance, $13.98. We've got another Sansevieria here. These are bird's nest Sansevierias. Now, as far as bird's nest Sansevierias or Sansevierias, another trick I would say about growing them is you definitely want to wait till all of the soil is dried out completely. Let it dry out for an entire week. Underwatering a Sansevieria is a lot easier than overwatering them because they will end up getting root rot. But another thing about Sansevieria or snake plants is if you want to grow one, even though it is marketed as an easy to care for plant, try not to get the leaves wet too long, because if they get wet too long, they will rot. And I am picking up some of these new Costa Farms trending tropical plants. That one is a Philodendron Pink Princess. It doesn't have nearly as high variegation. And as far as Philodendron Pink Princess, you really want to find one that has some really good genetics, some really good pink variegation, because the variegation is influenced by its initial genetics versus, say, trying to push out more variegation because of light. Light sometimes will influence the plant's coloration or variegation, but with the Pink Princess, not so much. Now, these are really good urban jungle plants. Again, these are for $13.98. I like that they have taller planters. I love the height of that. It kind of gives it a more stylistic approach. The only thing is, I wish it was just a solid terracotta, like that really nice orange looking planter on these pothos plants. So we have a jade pothos on the left and then a marble queen pothos on the right. You already know, to push out more of that cream variegation on a marble queen pothos, just flood it with a lot of bright light, grow it under a grow light, and you will see that the new leaves will push out lighter variegated leaves. Dracaena Massangiana, love that as well. $12.98 by Costa Farms. It's another easy to care for plant. I don't know how many people actually grow Dracaenas. I just recently bought one at Home Depot because I felt like it would be just an easy to care for plant, and I haven't had any issues with it. It is just one of those plants that most people will equate as a doctor's office type plant. Now, it's really cool that Costa Farms has actually gotten some trendy tropical plants, some new releases. So we've got some Philodendron Ring of Fires. You can see that they are for $19.98 in self-watering planters. Now, as far as Costa Farms Ring of Fires, I would say their Ring of Fires, as compared to some of the other nurseries that have provided big box stores with Philodendron Ring of Fire, at least Costa Farms Ring of Fires really has some really stable variegation. They've got some large plants as well. You know, sometimes you'll find Philodendron Ring of Fires to be a little bit more on the juvenile side, but you can see that these ones are already serrated. These ones have marbling on their variegation. And as far as the serrated philodendrons, my wish list plant that I hope will eventually become available, maybe Costa Farms might be able to produce them, is the Philodendron Caramel Marble. I mean, it's still super expensive. I've noticed though that there is a resurgence of plants, just the interest of plants post-pandemic. And the thing about it is, I'm noticing that plant pricing has gone up a little bit, more so than say a year or two ago. You know, some of the plant pricing was really plummeting, and I don't know if it's because some people have lost interest or there is a newfound interest and more people are demanding plants. So I am curious to see what you guys think. So again, leave me some comments on what your thoughts are about some of the plant increases or the plant pricing. I'd love to know your thoughts. I mean, I always like to hear from you guys via comment section anyway. And I do want to know what you think about this Aglaonema. So this is a particular Lowe that has a lot of Aglaonema. Right here, this is the Anyamanie, I think it is, but it could also look like an Etta Rose. Love pink plants, love Aglaonema. And there's so many varieties of pink Aglaonemas available. Now, if you haven't ever seen some of the Indonesian Aglaonema hybrids or the ones from Thailand, if you have Instagram, follow some of those Indonesian Aglaonema growers and you will see why Aglaonemas should be in your plant collection. I mean, they have beautiful colors. They're very much many different varieties, but even though there is a lot of varieties of Aglaonema and they have these beautiful pink colors or just colorful foliage, these plants are still able to tolerate lower light conditions and drought conditions. Those are two characteristics I will continue to talk about in every single video I make about plants, because it's really important, especially for those that are new to the channel, new to growing plants, that those are the types of plants you want to look for, because it's a little bit easier to maintain, for one, and then two, they're forgiving, because not everybody has the time to spend, 6 hours a day to like water your plants, manicure their plants. I know my grandmother, for instance, she has all the time in the world to really manicure her plants and take care of her plants. For me, I work a minimum of 10 hours because I am actually a salaried manager. And the thing about that is, whenever you have all that time you have to spend, you also have to think about all of the other things you have to do in your household besides, you know, taking care of your plants. And that's really the plight of some of the reason why some of my plants have really declined in health. And that's the reason why I lean into Aglaonemas, because it still satisfies my plant aesthetics. I really love plants with very beautiful colors, very stark colors, but also love the fact that it's forgiving because I don't have to water Aglaonema so often, and they can tolerate lower light conditions, because I can pretty much say everybody's indoor spaces may not be conducive to high or bright light unless you just have tall ceilings with really large windows that are east facing or south facing or west facing. So maybe, you know, if you are lucky to have that, then, you know, I am going to be a little bit more envious if in your situation. But for the most part, if we are going to try to grow plants indoors, a lot of us will utilize like grow lights as a supplementary lighting, you know, condition for some of the plants that need just a little bit more light. As far as the grow lights I use the Barina grow lights as well as Sansi grow lights. I am curious to try getting some Soltech grow lights. I think that would be awesome, especially the pendant one, because then I can actually hang it from a darker corner in my room and then let there be light, let there be life for the plants to be able to grow in a dark space that's lit up. Now, if you notice with a lot of the plants here, like especially these Costa Farms hanging baskets, they're all similar in pricing. So these are going to be $20.98. This is a strawberry begonia. If you ever see the variegated version of the strawberry begonia, it is absolutely stunning because you have more of the pink variegation on it. But even just the regular strawberry begonia, it's a fast grower, and you can pretty much propagate from it fairly quickly because it will shoot out little babies. It's very similar to a spider plant. And as you can see right here, this Lowe's may not necessarily have a bunch of new restocks, maybe the Philodendron Ring of Fires, but I will say that they have really good merchandising and many plants to pick from, like $15.98. You've got an Epipremnum aureum golden pothos, for instance. Now, this is another plant that I would definitely recommend to anybody who is starting in a plant collection. Please buy yourself a golden pothos, or this right here, this Aglaonema red Siam. Costa Farms plant that is for $15.98 in a self-watering planter. And those two plants, the golden pothos and red Siam, or even this Aglaonema right here, this one is for $19.98 by Costa Farms Trending Tropicals, are plants I would highly recommend adding into your plant collection, especially if you're beginning plants, because to me, it is super important to find something that is going to show a little bit more success. I would rather see a plant foldy, find a plant like a pothos plant. And while some people might find it so basic and so common, it is also a plant that's going to be easy to take care of and also bring you a lot of joy, because then you're not having to struggle to buy like humidifiers, grow lights, special fertilizers, specific water. Those types of things go so, you know, more so into other plants that are a little bit more high maintenance, like Alocasias, for instance, and Calathea. So for me, like I said again, it is all about the basic plants. It is all about finding plants that are cost effective. So you can see here, this is a Balfouriana Aralia. Love this plant. This is a variegated Aralia. Now, I've seen this plant in its maturity form where it can get up to like 3 to 4 feet in height. It becomes a very shrubby bush with really thick, woody trunk. But I don't think it can actually grow that size in our indoor spaces. It would need to be in like a tropical country, for instance, like the Philippines. That's where my family's from originally. And even being able to see this Ficus belus out in the wild, or at least out in a tropical country like the Philippines, you will see the maximum potential of these plants. You know, a lot of these plants that we see, like this one right here, is a flame violet or an Especia plant. Beautiful plant, and it does have many different colors for that plant. And then obviously this Hydra Helix. This one is for $5.98, and you already know this Hedera Helix, which is the correct way to say it, or English ivy. It is a plant that Some people can actually grow. My friend Isaac, if you haven't seen that interview I did with him where I showed his plants, well, most of his plants are actually rehab or rescue plants from me because I was such a negligent plant parent, but he is able to grow a Hydra helix and it's done well. Croton, this is a Croton gold dust croton. It's a common croton that you will find at a big box store. Costa Farms tends to release it year round, but if you're ever looking for larger versions of crotons, in the month of October in the United States, you will find crotons everywhere because everybody thinks it makes a good fall plant because of the fall colors. But when you think about a croton plant, it is a plant that's native or endemic to, you know, Southeast Asian countries like the Philippines, where they can grow into full-blown trees in full sun. So, you know, when you think about humid environments, hotter environments, it's not really conducive to fall plants, if that makes any sense. Either way, it is all about whether you want to grow a plant for just the season. We'll be seeing a lot of poinsettias, amaryllis plants, Norfolk pine. Those types of plants tend to make it out in November and December. And to me, I almost feel like it's almost wasteful to put so much effort into growing seasonal plants like Norfolk pine, amaryllis, poinsettias, because they only last for a good 4 weeks, maybe 6 weeks at the most, because I hardly see people growing them past the Christmas holiday season. And you got to think all of the plastic that we use for the planters and just the amount of energy and infrastructure to actually grow plants. Because you got to think right here, for instance, this Costa Farm plant, this Syngonium Maria for $5.98, it was grown in a greenhouse. So it took somebody to take cuttings, propagate it, use the soil, put it in plastic, water it on a, you know, consistent basis, you know, spend electricity in a big greenhouse to take care of these plants, only to be shipped out. And not all of these plants are guaranteed a home. And that's a reason why I hope people get into plants. Maybe more of these plants will actually get sold, because some of these plants end up making it to plant heaven simply because their health declines, or, you know, people don't end up buying it. And I sometimes feel like there is an overproduction of certain plants. Maybe it's because there is such a high demand. I don't know all of the economics or logistics behind plants, but what I do know is if you go to a big box store like Lowe's, you will definitely find Costa Farms exotic angel plants like this Syngonium Maria, for instance, $5.98 in a 4.5-inch planter. Love it because it does have that dark chocolate foliage. Syngoniums come in many different varieties, but for the Syngonium Maria to really push out that brown chocolate color, you really want to provide it with quite a bit of bright indirect light. Otherwise, it kind of fades and dulls up. But you can see there are several trays of exotic angel plants, and I do love this plant here. Now, I can't pronounce the actual name, so I'm just going to say this is the green shield plant. This isn't a self-watering planter. A lot of people say that this plant is actually challenging to grow. Surprisingly for me, it actually is an easy plant to grow. It's done very well for me. And what I like about this plant is when it needs water, it will start to droop, but it is also forgiving. So it'll let you know that it needs water, but it will also droop. And then after like an hour, the plant looks just like this again, nice and healthy, upright and full. Really like that plant. And that one is only for $19.98. It's another trending tropical plant. And you already know Janet Craig compacta Dracaena. It's a basic plant, but it is one of the easiest plants, and when it actually grows, it'll grow really tall and have more of like a caney type stem. It's a really interesting plant. So a lot of these starter plants is what I would consider these Costa Farms exotic angel plants, are plants that if you grow them long term and you're able to grow them to maturity, they become such beautiful statement plants. Now this one right here, I really just wish I could grow a snow white waffle plant. This is such a beautiful plant because it has the colors I like. I mean, it has like a metallic shine. It's got lavender, it's got pink, it's got cream, it's got like a minty green. But this plant is not really conducive to my plant care because number one, the soil needs to stay moist. And I'm the type of person that just really doesn't water my plants. And it's a lot to do with me just not having the time to get to each and every one of them. And you know, some people will say, well, why do you have so many plants? I can't really answer that question. All I know is I have a plant addiction and I just want to keep buying plants. You know, I did talk to some of my friends, like I've talked to my friend Janae Simone and Steven of I Live Plants. If you guys don't already know, we have a plant podcast called The Cultivation Corner. Season 1 is premiering on December 9th at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on my channel. It'll be the first episode, but we talked about plant burnout and how, you know, a lot of it has to do with just the overpopulation of plants in somebody's collection. All three of us have really started to look at making it more of a curated type collection. So for me, even though I am tempted to buy that neon pothos, for instance, that one is for $20.98. It's one of those situations where how many more pothos plants can I get? Now, if you ask me, I can have multiples because that is an easy care plant. But when you think about my plant collection, before I wanted to like pretty much collect any type of plant, whether it's Philodendron, Hoyas, Pothos, Dracaenas, Aglaonemas, you name it, whatever plant it is. And if it's interesting enough to me, I want to add it. But now I'm more of a Aglaonema collector. So a lot of my plants, when you see my plant collection home tour, who knows when that's going to happen, you're going to see a lot of that. And I feel like if you kind of curate your plant collection to be more of a niche plant, or at least plants that are just going to be fitting in your aesthetics, it's going to make it easier for you to not necessarily hoard plants. I know I'm a plant hoarder. And then there's also this other term where not only you're a plant hoarder, but you're also addicted to like plant propagating. I remember when I really started collecting houseplants indoors about 4 years ago, I literally would take over 50 to 100 cuttings of all these different types of plants that I have, specifically pothos plants. And then I just had a full jungle of pothos. I mean, that is how fast you can actually reproduce a lot of these easy care plants. But then it got to the point where it was just too much. And sometimes you don't necessarily, like whenever you cut your plants, you don't necessarily have to feel the need to propagate the plant. You can either share that plant cutting to somebody else, or you can still compost it. You know, a lot of people have controversial opinions about whether it's okay to compost the plant. I say if a plant is beyond, you know, repair in terms of trying to rehab it because it got a pest infestation, or a plant is just not doing well in your plant collection, sometimes it's just easier to part ways and compost it versus trying to like buy fertilizers or things like that and really put a lot of effort into it. I don't know if that makes any sense, but if you've ever been in that situation where like you actually have had a plant where it was really struggling and you found yourself actually putting more effort into rehabbing it versus parting with it and maybe buying a brand new one, let me know in the comments. Let me know which way or how you navigated through that experience, because I just like knowing everybody's plant stories. You know, it's so interesting to read some of the posts you guys have given me in the comment section. And again, if you made it this far into the video, this big box store plant shopping video, please make sure you do hit the like button for this video. I would really appreciate it. Definitely helps push this content out to more plant lovers like yourself. I love to see our community grow, and that is a fast way to help me grow this channel. But as you can see right here, there's not a lot of people shopping right now. That's why I prefer to go plant shopping at night. Now, I feel like the better lighting is whenever I shop or do plant videos in the morning. That is the best time for me, and that's the best time I get the best lighting for my plants. But this one right here, like I am really tempted to buy this neon pothos plant because it's so pretty. And then I did want to walk around here and show you some of the Black Friday specials. You can see 2 for $24. You can get 2 of those bundles of holiday plants. And then you can see these are only for $1.98. That is super inexpensive for a poinsettia. Love that as well. And I actually acquired a variegated poinsettia. Now, as far as my intentions with the poinsettia, I do want to grow it as an indoor plant long term. Now, for those that don't know, the red part is not necessarily the bloom of the plant. The bloom of the plant is just the yellow flowers, the really tiny flowers. To get that type of coloration, there is a process to do it, which I can't really explain because I don't want to give you false information when it comes to how to grow poinsettias, because I am still learning. I just know that they do prefer their soil to be a little bit more moist, and they prefer a lot of high light, which means these plants, even this poinsettia right over here, is going to be a little bit more of a challenge for me, but we'll see if I can invest that time to grow it. I do love the colors of the leaves. I mean, those red leaves are amazing. And this is what I was talking about. I ended up getting one of these variegated poinsettias. I mean, look at that. That just looks stunning. And it reminds me of like a Monstera Thai constellation. Now, I'm hoping that, you know, after the season, these poinsettias, some people will actually grow them long term. Speaking of another plant that I feel like is underrated, or well, I actually know is underrated, this is a Dracaena Limelight, and this is a Costa Farms plant again, $7.98. Now, what I love about this neon colored plant is it actually holds on to the neon color even if you provide it with less light. Now, obviously more bright light, it's going to really lighten that up, but that's a plant that can hold on to its neon colors. Staghorn fern, $6.98. This would actually be a good candidate to actually put on a wooden plank or to make it into a kokedama type growing in display. Staghorn ferns, I don't have one at all. I honestly don't know the plant care tips for staghorn fern. So for those who actually grow staghorn fern, and I know they're also known as platyceriums, please leave in the comments section any tips about staghorn ferns. What I do know about them is you can mount them on planks. You can grow them in a substrate like sphagnum moss and they will do fine. But it is nice to see that Lowe's does have staghorn fern. And as I pan away here, you can see they've got some teddy bear vines by Costa Farms. Those are for $20.98. And then we still have several of these exotic angels by Costa Farms. So you'll see that we have a Belgian waffle plant. So the Belgian waffle plant has more of a tan caramel look about it versus the snow white waffle plant. I love all of the waffle plants, but unfortunately, I've grown the purple waffle plant, the Belgian waffle plant, and the snow white waffle plant. None of them have actually survived long enough for me to say I've been able to grow them long term. Now, Marble Queen Pothos, I could have multiples of this. This one is for $7.98. I love that Costa Farms is actually releasing more different varieties of pothos. I happened to get a Yesenia pothos, and I was able to get a Champs Ulysses pothos and a Neon Enjoy pothos. Now, the Champs Ulysses pothos and Neon Enjoy pothos were actually Japanese pothos by the Teruno World Series. I also love Japanese pothos, and if you haven't seen the different varieties of Japanese pothos, highly recommend looking at D&M Garden, Secret Garden on Instagram. My friend May, who I met actually at the Texas Aeroid Show, as well as PlantCon 2024, she has so many different varieties of Japanese pothos. Super cool. I would love for y'all to do that, to actually check it out. Now, as far as the exotic angel plants that we have here, we have the typical Phytonias or the nerve plant, as well as more pothos plants. The one pothos plant I hope Costa Farms will release is the Manjula pothos plants. I did see a bunch of them before, and I regret not buying them because they're actually hard to come by. They're a very slow growing pothos, although I did splurge on buying a hanging basket of Manjula pothos from Costa Farms. They actually had those available, and that was the first time I ever bought Costa Farms plants online. I ended up buying lemon top pothos plant, trending tropicals, from Costa Farms, even though it was a little bit more pricey than say if I bought it at a big box store. I will say my review for Costa Farms shipping and just buying online. They were very efficient, and the plants came to me very much healthy, and I just love the fact that it was such an easy process to buy from CostaFarms.com. So if there are any big box stores like Lowe's, fortunately for me, I'm able to go to any big box store within a 5 to 10 minute radius of where I'm based at. I'm able to acquire these plants for a little bit less, but if you're willing to pay just a little bit more, you can go to CostaFarms.com. Costa Farms plants, that website, they have a lot of the plants that I feature, but they also can ship directly to your doorstep. It literally took like 4 days for my order to get to me, and I love how extremely efficient and fast Costa Farms was with them. Now, this right here is a Philodendron hederaceum, the green form, $7.98. It's interesting how they just call it green. Sometimes I wonder about some of the plant IDs that Costa Farms gives these plants. I really like more specific plant IDs. Like for instance, this one right here is the black rabbit's foot fern. I might actually buy a black rabbit's foot fern, but then I also thought about it. It's more of just the need to add a fern into my collection, even though I don't feel like it's going to really add anything to my plant collection, if that makes sense. It's not a plant that I gravitate to. You know, there are certain people, like for instance, my friend Steven, who's also on the Cultivation Corner Plant podcast, he's not really a big fan of, say, begonias, or at least that's what he told us, because he feels like that plant is more so like a plant that needs to grow outside. For me, I love begonias because they can grow indoors or outdoors, but it's all about that plant aesthetic. It's kind of like when I was on that big pitch about having everybody grow coleus plants. Like coleus plants are super versatile, but most people consider coleus plants as plants that just grow in a container outdoors. But what people don't realize is that there is a huge European following of just growing the palette leaf or the coleus plant into like full-blown trees indoors. It's a really interesting concept, and I think just like how I talk about plants every single day and give you all of this plant, all of my plant insights. Some people might even, tell me on the DMs, the direct messages, that it's word vomit. Whatever you get from my commentary, I still appreciate that the viewership is there. But for me, I think a lot of these plants end up becoming trendy or popular when more people are talking about them. When more of these plants, can you imagine if people started posting a bunch of these neon pothos on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or YouTube, and just talked about how this is such a cool plant? I bet you more people will end up buying these plants, because right now what I'm seeing is a lot of people are posting a lot about anthuriums, for instance. I mean, the whole situation with the Dock Block Anthurium Michelle by Proven Winners. I mean, we had people who have never grown anthuriums in their life just going out to like Home Depot searching for a plant that may not necessarily fit their lifestyle, because anthuriums are plants that need a little bit more care. They require higher humidity levels. They need lighting conditions. Their substrate has to be very specific. Even the water that you water anthuriums are a little bit more picky. But, to go back to it, it's all about how do you get a plant to trend. It's all about who is actually buying the plants, who's actually growing them, and that's how plants become popular. So for me, like whenever I do these big box or plant shopping videos, I will just keep showing you the same plants that I am interested in. Even this right here, this is a Bonnie spider plant. So spider plants is another plant that is super underrated, super overlooked. Nobody really buys them, but I think that this is such a cool plant. And if you've never been to a local nursery called Plants and Planters in Richardson, Texas, they have massive hanging baskets where they have so many little baby pups just trailing down. And a spider plant, that's another plant that not a lot of people are into just because it's a common plant. Some of the plants I'm seeing that's really trending are all of the variegated Monsteras, specifically the mutations of the Monstera Thai constellation, for instance. But as far as the plants that are common, like these, Aglaonema silver bay. This is a gorgeous one, and it's actually a really large plant. Let me see the price. Take a look at that. That is $27.98. That is not a bad price at all, considering, Aglaonemas are slower growing plants, but look at how full that is and how beautiful the silver foliage is. This is by Costa Farms again. But there's not a lot of talk about like Aglaonemas. Now there are some super expensive Aglaonemas, like one Aglaonema, and I need everybody to Google search it online if you can. Look for Aglaonema Crown of Siam or Aglaonema Greg Humbali hybrids, and you will see that these are stunning Aglaonemas. Super rare in a sense that you just can't really acquire them in the United States unless you directly import them from Indonesia or overseas. But I bet you if there's more people talking about these Aglaonemas, for instance, especially those more uncommon rare varieties, it becomes a trending plant. And so for me, I want to ask our plant foldies that are watching this plant shopping video today, what plants do you feel are overrated? What plants do you think have become overrated because of social media? Please leave in the comments below if you can. Also, just let me know why that is, why it is that a plant is actually popular. Because for me, like this snake plant right here, the Sansevieria trifasciata, $15.98. That's a plant that everybody should be talking about, but most people will just look away from it because it's a basic plant. On my plant channel, I say basic is the best. Basic is real. Basic is where everybody needs to pivot and go. And, maybe we can still have these, rare Aglaonemas or rare plants, if that makes any sense. I do have quite a bit of Aglaonemas, for instance, but I also have variegated Monsteras. But what's crazy is I actually prefer my Monstera deliciosa over my Monstera albo, even though my Monstera albo from Fitzgerald's Tropicals has beautiful variegation. But there is something about the simplicity of looking at a green leaf, if that makes any sense. Like I even look at like a Ficus lyrata, and I remember the Ficus lyrata was super in it plant. Everybody needed it in their homes. It was like an interior designer's go-to houseplant, even though not every single home had like bright light that you need to provide for it. But even looking at how robust and how green the leaves are and how that natural shine about, certain plants, that to me makes it exciting. That to me makes me want to grow the plant. Now, as far as all the other plants right over here, you can see we've got a ZZ plant. This one is for $15.98, and you can already see that there are so many Costa Farms plants. I do love the fact that this Lowe's, despite that it hasn't gotten any new plant Costa Farms releases, they did restock with a bunch of Calathea dotties. This one is a Training Tropicals plant by Costa Farms for $19.98. And if you haven't seen that video where I ended up buying a Calathea dotty for $18.88 at Home Depot, it was a lot larger. And the update is on Thanksgiving, I actually cut it back a lot because a lot of the leaves started to brown. And I realized that I just need to water my Calathea dotty more consistently. So if that means every other day or daily, just because I let it dry out completely for like a week and it's still crisping. And, I don't really have the best humidity in my living room. I have a humidifier in my actual plant room, but I just love the look of a Calathea dotty. I mean, look at how stunning it is. Unfortunately, as beautiful as the leaves are, especially with pretty much every single Calathea, the sad part is the more beautiful the leaves are, for some reason they are just a little bit more finicky of a plant. Either that, or I'm just doing something where I'm sending these Calatheas to plant heaven faster than I can actually keep money in my pocket because I'm buying so many plants at once. Now here is a beautiful Philodendron pink princess. This one has a little bit more pink, but you can see that it's got a little bit more lower variegation. I don't really mind it. Sometimes having plants with just subtle variegation is still a beautiful aesthetic as well. But if you're gonna look for a Philodendron pink princess and you want a lot more pink, like this one for instance, you want to find a plant that has a lot of that variegation up front, because it will actually signify that it will actually push more of that type of variegation long term. Now this one is another trending tropicals plant by Costa Farms. This one is for $19.98, and you know, when you think about Costa Farms plant pricing, I think it's fair. I think it's still pretty cost effective, because some you know, plant sellers actually sell these plants for a lot higher of a price. Now, you know, some people have these opinions about Costa Farms, you know, really taking away business from maybe some of the smaller plant shops. For me, I don't think that's necessarily the case, because I'm all about also supporting small businesses, local nurseries. You can see that I will feature local nurseries. But the thing about it is, and I've said this in all my other videos whenever I talk about this topic, is not everybody has local plant shops. You know, I am just really thankful that I live out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and there's so many plant places to pick from. So as far as big box stores, if that is, you know, the only thing that's accessible to you, then I say go ahead and buy an Aglaonema red Siam, for instance, at a big box store. It's okay. I don't think people should feel bad or feel like, you know, big box stores take away from small businesses. There is a time, there is a place, there is an audience, there is a consumer for both. And, you know, for me, I always would say support the local businesses first, support small businesses, because whenever you buy from a small business, you are supporting somebody's livelihood, you're supporting somebody's dreams. But at the same time, if you don't have that option to shop local, go ahead and buy yourself in Aglaonema red Siam. As you can notice, I just keep mentioning that. I mean, like, this one has some really nice red foliage. Kathy, if you're watching this video, this is the Aglaonema for you. I wish I could ship this out, but it is okay to buy big box store plants. Now, the thing I will say about big box store plants is, just like any plant, you have to make sure when you buy a plant like this that you take it home. I wouldn't necessarily add it to your plant collection. I would quarantine it. I would spray the leaves down with either insecticidal soap or neem oil spray. I would spray the tops of the leaves, the bottoms of the leaves, the surface of the soil, the bottom of the drainage hole, the sides of the grower planter. That way you can eliminate as much potential possibility of having plant pests hitchhike. I would do that for a little bit. I would quarantine the plant for about a week or two, and then just really stay in, you know, monitor that. Now, as far as all of these Aglaonemas that I'm picking up, again, you know, if you notice that every single Aglaonema red Siam has a different level of redness to it, I do believe that if you give Aglaonema red Siam more bright light, it's going to push up more of the red. I know that the Aglaonema pink Siam, beautiful plant, and I was able to really sun stress it by giving it lots of bright indirect light, not full sunlight, not full direct sun, because it will burn the plant, but it really did push out a lot of the beautiful pink colors. Now this again is another Calathea, $15.98. And the thing about Costa Farms is when they release a plant, you can tell that it is a new crop. So you'll see that there are a lot of Calatheas being pushed out into the big box stores, at least in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I've seen the Calathea orbifolia, the Calathea dotty, the Calathea rospicta, and then this Calathea here, which I don't really know the plant ID. What I do know is it's got beautiful purple undersides and really good leaf interest. So that's another plant I would recommend for anybody that wants a beautiful leaf, but also know there is a lot of care that you have to place for Calatheas. I've grown Calatheas hydroponically thinking it would grow well for me in just straight water, and it ended up still getting spider mites. The only substrate I haven't tried to grow Calatheas, I might try it, is Lechuzapon. Lechuzapon to me is the savior of a lot of plants that I haven't been able to grow successfully, like Alocasia. It just makes the plant care so easy, because then you don't have to worry so much about root rot, and you just fill the water reservoir in a self-watering planter, and that is it, which makes my plant care so much easier. Now you can see right here, Majesty palms. I'm really curious if anybody actually grows majesty palms in their plant collection, or is it more of like an interior statement piece plant for somebody's home? I just feel like that majesty palm takes so much surface space in a collection that it's not necessarily worth it, at least for me. $12.98. This is a little hanging basket for Lowe's. It's, you know, marketed it as a Lowe's plant, but I do think that Costa Farms actually provides that synapsis. And then you can see right here, we've got a Fittonia for $7.98. This is the red and Fittonia. Now, as far as Fittonias, they make better terrarium type plants, and that's something I want to touch base on maybe next year, is try to grow plants in more of like an artistic form. Like I have a couple of bonsai, I've got a couple of kokedama plants that I want to actually show on my Instagram. I say if you haven't already, definitely follow me on Instagram at Growfold. That's really where you can get the daily posts that I have aside from the YouTube channel. You know, I will post on my community posts, and that also brings me to the point. If you get a chance, please check if you're already subscribed to the channel to see if you have all of the notifications turned on. Sometimes when you subscribe to a YouTube channel, it will just give you personal notifications. So that really depends on what kind of content you're currently watching. But if you have all notifications on, it will let you know immediately if I, you know, post a shorts video, a new plant live premiere, or a community post. That's just really a way to get in touch with me and stay up to date with the plant shopping channel of mine. Now over here is another type of Hoya. I don't know the Hoya's actual plant ID, but it is only for $16.98. I do like the 6-inch hanging baskets that Costa Farms has versus the 8-inch ones. I mentioned that in my other previous videos, and the reason being is it doesn't take so much more surface level for it. I think it's easier to maintain, it's easier to grow. You don't have to worry about having to drill such a big hole in your ceiling because it's got a lighter weight. But as far as Hoyas, again, I wasn't really into Hoyas until I started adding a couple to my collection. And now for me, Hoyas have actually become one of the easiest care plants. And the thing about Hoya is it is pet friendly. So if you have a dog, a cat, these plants are not toxic, and you can actually have your plants around, because a lot of these plants that we look at are not really conducive to furry friends. Now, hopefully, if you have a pet, maybe some pets are not going to get into the plants, but there are some plants that are highly toxic. One of them would be Dieffenbachia. So if you ever cut Dieffenbachia to propagate and you get some of the sap on your hand, you want to try to wash that off of your hand as quickly as possible, because it can really irritate your skin. Calatheas, I believe, are also pet friendly. Please leave in the comments below if it's incorrect, but I've heard that Calatheas as well are pet friendly. I'm really tempted to purchase this Epiprimnum neon Pothos. This is an 8-inch hanging basket because it's just one of those plants that you can have multiples of, or at least for me, Pothos plants, I can have multiples of. I have yet to actually get a regular green Pachira aquatica. I do like the Pachira aquatica, although I prefer them to not be the braided form like this. I like the stump form, but I did end up getting a variegated Pachira aquatica. Thank you to my friend Vic of Vic and Vine. She actually has a Instagram page. She actually is a seller of Lechuza Pond. She was the one who was able to sell me 2 bags, because Lechuza Pond right now, as of this current video, at least when I premiered it, Lechuza Pond was out of stock at Amazon. And again, it is one of those great semi-hydro substrates that do really well for me. If I am going to put more plants in semi-hydro, I definitely prefer Lechuza Pond. It is a little bit more pricey, so I found a cheaper alternative in growing some of my other plants like Aglaonemas, for instance, in just leca, which I actually buy from IKEA. It's not a bad price at all. And you can see right over here, we do have an Alocasia Jacqueline, $19.98. As much as I love this Alocasia, when it grows in its mature form, has stunning large leaves, to get it to that size, it's just really challenging. I really want to know if there's anybody here that's watching this video that has grown an Alocasia Jacqueline, if you've been able to grow it successfully. If so, please leave that in the comment section. I am super curious if you've been able to grow Alocasia Jacqueline or Alocasias long-term in soil substrate. Now, Lechuza Pond, I've seen people grow them. I'm actually currently growing some of my Alocasia in Lechuza Pond, and they have done phenomenal. Calathea orbifolia, it is another beautiful Calathea, but the thing about it is, if you don't provide it high humidity, distilled water, consistent watering, those leaves start to crisp up very quickly. I mean, Calatheas are the biggest heartbreakers. Calatheas have become a plant to me that is one of the more challenging plant alongside Hydra helix, like English ivy indoors. But you know, I mean, look at how stunning the leaves are, and it is just so disappointing that you can't just grow this plant as an easy care plant. I suppose things that are worthwhile sometimes require a little bit more effort, but then I also think sometimes the things that are more worthwhile are the things that are effortless. And I'll leave in the comments if you prefer a Calathea over, say, a Pothos plant. I will always tell you Pothos plant. And if you are a Calathea collector, it's not me trying to be negative about the Calatheas. It's really me speaking about my experiences. And as you can tell, I have really utilized a lot of my plant shopping videos just to talk to you about plants, give you my plant insights. Consider it like a mini Richie plant podcast without the mic. And, you know, again, as far as like my podcast that I'm part of, Cultivation Corner, please subscribe to our official YouTube channel, Cultivation Corner. You can do a search on YouTube to find it. We don't have as many subscribers. We're hoping to get to 1,000 subscribers, and I call every single plantfoldy, the 11,000 viewers that are subscribed. Please go ahead and subscribe to the Cultivation Corner Plant Podcast. That is one huge project, and we are going to have several seasons. We did film and edit all of season 1, and we're really excited to showcase all of the hard work we've worked on. You know, as far as Janae Simone, please subscribe to her YouTube channel, as well as Stephen of I Live Plants. Those two are really amazing people. I am thankful to have them and call them my friends. We really relate on so many levels. And when you think about a plant podcast, what made it easy for us to produce that work, that content, is because we actually had organic conversations. You know, we didn't really have to have a script or follow some type of production. We literally sat there and talked about a plant topic, and all of a sudden we were just really bouncing off of each other. And that's the thing about my plant content. Again, you know, I have been given feedback about, you know, kind of sticking to the topic, or maybe talking a little bit more so about the plant care tips. I will tell you, if you want plant care tips, I will, you know, give you that, but I will also let you know that the other 70 other 1-hour plant shopping videos that I've done in the past year will have those plant contents. As of the last week or so, I really just feel like talking to y'all, just talking to you about plants, whatever thoughts I get while I watch the playback of the videos I've filmed. That's really what you're getting. So it's pretty much raw footage, and hopefully you guys appreciate more of a raw or more organic take about the plants that I'm talking about in these plant shopping videos. Now, this is for $18.98. This is a bromeliad again. And you know, with bromeliads, like, look at that pink right there. It looks like somebody literally just painted pink in the middle. That is such a harsh line right there, but that is for real. That is a plant with such beautiful colors. Pink plants are so cool. Pink plants are all, I mean, I'm all about pink plants. I will buy pink plants all day long. And, as far as bromeliads, that will be a plant I may eventually add into my plant collections because there's so many different varieties. And plant foldies, you can see that we have so many different types of Philodendron orchids. I love the fact that Costa Farms releases so many different Philodendron orchids for pretty good pricing. I think it's $14.98. Philodendron orchids, you can give them bright light, but they can tolerate lower light conditions. As far as the substrate, always put them in orchid bark. Do not plant them in straight soil. They will die because the roots will rot completely very fast. This one right here is a plant. This is a Thinanthe plant, and it's really interesting that Costa Farms has larger varieties. $22.98. Honestly, for a 10-inch planter, that is not a bad price at all. And as far as Thinanthe, so it's very similar to Calatheas. It's labeled as a Calathea, but I don't think this is a Calathea. Maybe it is, but I have one, and I actually let it dry out completely, and it's pretty forgiving. Now, if it starts to crisp up a little bit on the edges, I just take a pair of scissors and just, cut off that brown part for just the aesthetics behind it. It doesn't really hurt the plant. It actually improves the appearance, but that is really interesting that they actually have this Nanthe plant here. I didn't know that Costa Farms releases the large forms of it like that. So if you want a large form plant and you're looking for something with some nice green on green foliage, this one is a little bit less finicky. I would still say it's a finicky plant. So let's be real here. It's still, similar to a Calathea in a sense that it needs to have consistent watering, higher humidity levels, but it's not going to crisp up on you as quickly as a Calathea. And then you can see right here, these are the clearance plants, or the rescue me, help me, rescue me plants. Unfortunately, like this one right here, look at this Hydra helix. This is the yellow manda ivy. So this is the first time I've ever seen a yellow manda ivy. Unfortunately, this one is already taking its toll, and the problem is when a Hedera helix starts to get browning leaves, it starts to really attract spider mites, and spider mites on Hedera helix, that's just not something you want to add into your plant collection, because that'll just cause a spider mite infestation. And that's the reason why it's a little bit risky to take an English ivy and put it into your plant collection. Now, granted, if I could grow English ivy, like legit grow them, I would have so many varieties, because there's so many different varieties of English ivy. Now, as far as all of the plants we're looking at today, you can see that again, Lowe's, it has a good variety of plants. You can see that the plant merchandising is on point. I can't stop looking at these gorgeous Aglaonema red siam. These are some of the more redder ones I've seen at a big box store. Like, I'm tempted to buy them again. I already have 4 Aglaonema red siams. I'm okay with adding a 5th one, because again, it's one of those plants that are easy to care for, and it's a plant that you can push out more of the red, or I feel like you can get more of the red coloration by just simply giving it more light. So plant foldies, I mean, what do you guys think of today's video? Did you guys get some interesting insights from me as far as plant commentary? Please leave that in the comments, and you know, let me know what your thoughts are on some of these Costa Farms plants. I mean, if you've collected them, and if you've bought an Aglaonema, please let me know in the comments. That would bring me so much joy actually to see if I've influenced anybody else, because look at this right here. You've got to get this Aglaonema Anyamanie. Beautiful plant. It's got some beautiful pink foliage, and I will be adding more Aglaonema to my collection soon. Again, please hit the like button for this video. I really had fun just talking to y'all this evening, and if you can, please make sure you are subscribed to my YouTube channel at Grow Folks. This is Richie. I'll see you with a brand new one tomorrow.